everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking all about the 8 key steps that you need to do before starting your online store in 2021. I'm just going to get straight to it today. I've had like 2 coffees, I'm feeling super energized, so let's just get going. The first step that I want to talk to you about, really quick one, but incredibly important. You need to make sure that you have committed yourself to starting this online store and essentially starting a business. This is not something to take lightly. It's going to require potentially some of your funds and your resources. More than anything, it's going to require your time. Like, you're going to need to dedicate hours every day to making this work. And honestly, there's no point doing it if you're not completely sold on the idea. You've got to want it and you've got to be excited to do it, because it's going to be testing it sometimes. You know, an online store isn't a get rich quick scheme. It's going to take a lot of grafting, but it'll be so rewarding and so worth it. But I just want to make sure that the first thing that you've done is thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. I'm committed to this idea. So if you've done that and you're committed, let's just move on to step 2. So this step is all about finding your name and finding your niche. The reason why I've grouped these 2 things together is because I think they go hand in hand. So when it comes to finding your niche, that's basically you need to figure out what you want to sell, because online stores can be anything. You could be selling loads of toys, or you could be selling clothes. There's so many different things you can sell. My niche is clothing, but within that niche I sell bags, and that's one separate boutique, and the other boutique I sell swimwear. So I've actually niched down quite a bit. You don't necessarily have to niche down that much, but what you do need is a clear idea on what it is your store is going to sell. Once you've got that, you can figure out what your name is, because sometimes your name will be influenced by what you're selling. This part is actually really exciting, but also quite hard. And if you're struggling to come up with a business name, then check out this link to my video, which, as I'm saying it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to upload that video first or this one first. Either way, at some point, there will be a video from me talking about how I found my brand names and how you guys can find your brand names. So I recommend giving that a watch if you're struggling. The reason why I put this step so high up is because one of the key things that you're going to need to do in the early stages of forming your business is check if your business name is available. So that doesn't just mean on your, in England it's on .gov. That doesn't just mean, checking to see if another business has your name, but you also want to check to see if your domain name's available, because, coming from experience, a lot of them are taken. I recommend using a site like GoDaddy for that. I'll link below if you've not used it before. But you need to make sure that your domain name's available, and then you also need to make sure that your name's available on Instagram or some kind of variation of your name. So, for example, Lilo London, my swimwear boutique, not available on Instagram. Lilo London Swim is available on Instagram. But if you want to have a YouTube channel associated with your brand, if you want to have a Twitter page, like, all of these things are different channels that you need to make sure that you are able to set up your name or a variation of your name what makes sense, so that when it comes to you forming all these pages, you're able to do it, and you don't suddenly need to change your name further down the line, which I've actually had to do before. And it's not fun. Okay, so next step, also a bit of a boring step, but important. It's all the legal stuff. Sorry, I've got something in my eye, so if you see me just doing this, just mind your business. The legal stuff is boring, but incredibly important. And it's gonna be different depending on where you are. Like, even in America, it's gonna be different depending on which state you're in. I recommend doing some research, asking some people who know a thing or two about, accounting, finance, and business structures, because there's a few different options. Like, you could be a sole trader. I think in the US that's called sole proprietor. You could be a limited company. You could be, in partnership with someone. There's a bunch of different things you can do, and each different setup requires different paperwork and different accounts. So it's really important that you educate yourself on that decision and you make a really, clear decision on that. I once started a business a few years ago when I was really young. I did not make the right decision. I didn't file the correct paperwork. I got fined. It was a nightmare. I'll link to that video above so you can learn from some of my mistakes. But yeah, that's the third thing you want to do is register your company and set yourself up legally. The next thing you want to do is get your finances in order. This is something you want to do regardless of whether you've got a business or not. You always got to get your money in order. But when you're starting a business, it depends on who you are and what your financial situation is. But a lot of people fund their business or their online store with their own money. That's what I did, and a bit of my boyfriend's money. What you need to do is figure out how much money you need in order to get your business up and running. I have a spreadsheet that I used. I'm going to be selling a lot of my spreadsheets and a general guide guide on how to start your business a bit further down the line. I'll put a link below so that you can register on my website to be the first to know once that's available. But I basically use a spreadsheet to figure out, all right, what is everything that I need to buy in order to launch? How much is that going to cost me? What are my continuing like running costs? And that helped me figure out, okay, I need X amount of money to get this off the ground. Online stores aren't cheap. They're not the cheapest business or side hustle that you can start. But if you're clever, there's ways you can do it. If you're starting a clothing boutique, I recommend checking out this video that I recorded, which is basically all about how you can start an online clothing boutique with very little money. You know, unless you've got loads of money, you just want to throw your money at it, in which case, you know, have a strategy in place, but go for it. Okay, so next step, this is my favorite step. It's your products and your inventory. Do you know why I love this so much? Is because I haven't let myself shop properly in a while, right? Because I'm just trying to save my money, I'm trying to be a lot better. So I haven't shopped in a while, but when I purchase products for my store, it like satisfies that urge within me that I have. It satisfies that like craving just to go shop somewhere because I've technically bought loads of stuff, but it's actually for my store. I hope someone watching this knows what I mean, because otherwise I'm just gonna sound like an absolute lunatic. So, products. You've already decided what you're selling and what your niche is. So now you've got to figure out where you're going to find those products and which ones you're going to sell. I'm going to link below to a video from another YouTuber where they talk about kind of wholesale vendors for clothing boutiques. If I can find any other videos which are useful for different niches, I'll definitely link those below as well. Basically, there's no easy solution to this. It's going to take quite a fair amount of research, and it's also going to take a lot of trial and error. The main tip I can give you is when you find a supplier, make sure that you are sampling anything that you're going to sell onto your customer. Do not make the mistake of finding a supplier, thinking that their photos look great, even if their reviews look great. Don't make the mistake of being, you know, fooled by that and then spending £500 on stock, which you might not even be able to return, or if you do return, it might cost a lot of money in terms of delivery if it came from abroad. Don't make that mistake, because then when you get all that stock, you might not like it, and you don't want to be in a situation where you've got loads of stock that you want to flog to people even though you don't like it, or that you've got loads of stock that you can't do anything with. So main tip I can give you there is make sure that when you find a supplier, you are sampling your products. Within this step, you also need to figure out what your pricing is. I'm going to do a video. I'm such a broken record. I'm going to do a video. I am, but I'm new, so you just got to wait until I build up my bank. But I am going to do a video on how to price your products. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to give you a few really quick tips. Make sure, okay, do you know what? I'm just going to give you one tip. It's the most important one. You've got to make sure that you're making profit. And that's probably going to sound really obvious, like, of course that's what I need to do. But it's actually a lot harder than you think. When you're buying stock, there's a lot more what goes into it than just how much that one item costs. So, okay, example. You find a pair of jeans that you want to sell, and you can buy these from a wholesaler for £10. You think, oh, bargain, £10, I'm going to sell them for 20, I've made £10 profit. No, you haven't. There are so many other costs that come into that. So it might only cost £10 for those jeans, but that wholesaler might charge you £2 for delivery, right? So now that costs you £12. You might be importing it from another country, and you might have to pay custom fees, which is going to add another £2 onto your cost. So now those jeans are £14. You need to factor in your shipping. You might want to do some bougie shipping where you've got a really nice branded customized box, and you've got tissue paper, and you've got business cards, and you've got stickers and all that, but that's going to cost you £3 per item, right? Okay, fine. So now, where did I get to? 14. So now your jeans have cost you £17. And then you also need to think about, well, what if you want to run a store where you're offering free shipping? Or like I do, the shipping's not free, but it's cheaper. So I subsidize the cost and I soak up some of that cost myself, which might mean that you now need to soak up £3 per order, which now look at that, your pair of jeans, which you thought cost you £10, actually cost you 20, and you've not made any profit. There are just so many other things you've got to think about. So just make sure you are taking everything into account, in addition to how much you want to pay yourself, in addition to how much money you want to spend on marketing. It might cost you £2 just to get that sell, you know, you've got to add that together as well. And then that's how once you've added all that together, that's when you can figure out, okay, what is my markup going to be? How much am I actually going to sell these for? Okay, so next step is the shipping. Kind of alluded to this in the previous step. I feel really hyper today. It's only 8 AM. Woo! So Shipping. There's a bunch of different things you can do in this realm. For example, for Raya London, I ship in just plain white boxes, which already come with like a seal, so that I can really quickly ship all my bags, seal them, done. I don't have to mess around with like tape and all that stuff, because that gets messy and it's long. I pay a little bit more for those boxes, but in my opinion, they're worth it. And I have different size boxes so that I can fulfill different size orders, like 1 bag versus someone who wants to buy 5 bags. On the other hand, for Lilo London, I have compostable mailers, which are basically like more environmentally friendly poly mailers. So I use those for Lilo London because I sell swimwear, and you know, if you're only buying 1 bikini, you don't need a whole box. But then I also use boxes as well, because sometimes people buy like 5 or 6 bikinis. Shout out to you people who are buying 5 or 6 bikinis, because I love you guys. And I can fit them all in a box. I wrap them in tissue paper, I put a nice customized stick on it. For Lilo London, I've got like tape. Do you know what? Stay there. I'm gonna go get it. Hold on. So this isn't all the stuff I use, but an example, right? So I've got this like customized tape that says Lilo London on it, and I basically wrap that around my boxes when I'm fulfilling ship swimwear for that brand. These are the boxes I use. I've got to be careful because this is actually someone's box, which I haven't finished doing, so I don't want to show you the address on the bottom. These are the boxes I use. They're super, super safe and sturdy, and underneath there's basically a long strip where I can just take a bit of tape off and seal it straight away, right? And then other things I use are things like these, so like my custom little stickers, which just say Lilo London on them. So, you know, nothing fancy, but I figured out that this is a really cost efficient way to have some kind of customized branding or boxes and shipping without actually paying the high markup of getting custom boxes printed, which is something what I'm going to do eventually. It's just that you need to be ordering quite a lot in order for that to be cost effective, and I've just not got to that stage yet. But anyway, there's loads of different things that you can do around shipping. Get creative, and you know, go on things like Pinterest, have a search on Google, get creative. Always make sure you've got your bottom line in mind, which in a finance and accounting terms, that basically just means that you're always thinking about how much that stuff is going to cost and how that's going to affect your profit margin. If you want to go bougie with your packaging, amazing. People love packaging. It gives you a great perception of a brand being premium, but you need to realize that has to be reflected in your price as well. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is set up your website. I use Shopify. I will always recommend Shopify. I've tried others in the past, and whilst they might be good and really work well for some people, I find for e-commerce and online stores, Shopify is the best. Being biased, but you know, that's what you're watching this channel for my opinion, right? I mean, I hope so. I recommend Shopify. It's super, super easy to use. Again, broken record, I'll be doing a video on tutorials, but I will be. It's super easy to use. Have a play on it. It's fairly cost effective. I think it's about $25 a month, or maybe that's £25 a month, and it's more like $28 a month. So it's not the cheapest one out there, but in my opinion, it's completely worth it. So yeah, set up your website. I will put a link to someone else's video talking about how to do that for the time being, just so you guys don't have to wait for me to do mine, and then I'll swap it out once mine's done. The final step, and I'm gonna say this is the most important step for me because I work in marketing, so I'm incredibly biased, but it is an incredibly important step. It is marketing your business. And I've purposely called it marketing because marketing is all encompassing. Marketing includes your social media strategy, it includes your brand positioning, it includes your look and feel, it includes your logo, it includes so many different elements. And sometimes people make the mistake of just saying, okay, you've got to do all these other steps, you know, you're financing your website, and then you've got to do branding, and that's it. And that's not the case. That's just one part of the very big marketing pie. So I'm going to have to do a separate video on this. I know you're going to hate me, but I'm going to have to do a separate video on this because there's so much stuff to cover. But I'm going to quickly give you a whistle stop tour. That's a hard phrase. God, I don't want to use that again. On the main things that you need to be considering before you launch. First thing, social media. Hopefully, if you listened and you've done step number 2 or 3 about finding your name, you would have already found your name and registered on a bunch of different social media sites so that no one else has a chance to steal your name. So hopefully you've got your Instagram set up, your Twitter, whatever else you're going to use. I recommend starting posting on these channels as soon as possible. I don't care if you don't have your products yet. It's not a problem. Use it as like an inspo page. So you know those Instagram pages, just basically repost other people's content. Use it as an inspo page and repost content which is going to be similar or related to the product that you're going to be selling. It is never too soon to start building up a social media following. So I recommend doing that ASAP. So branding is an incredibly important part of your marketing strategy. That is figuring out what your logo is like, what are your brand colors, what is your typeface, so like what's your font. These are all things which need to remain consistent across all of your marketing material as well as your website as well. So making sure you've really narrowed down maybe 2 or 3 fonts at most, 4 brand colors, the type of images you want to use, get a mood board together. Love doing mood boards. Get a mood board together and use different imagery from different Instagram sites or your competitors, you really like the look and feel of theirs, and use all of that to really come up with your brand image, which is reflective of you and also reflective of the brand that you want to create. There's other things involved in your marketing, which I can't go into massive detail in this because otherwise it's going to be like a 4-hour long video. But there's other things like figuring out what your positioning strategy is. So that basically means, where do you stand up against your competitors? If you've got one competitor who sells a similar product to you, but they sell them at a higher price point, are they the more premium version? Do you want to undercut them and sell a bit cheaper? There's different things that you need to figure out in terms of where you want to position yourself in your market. You also want to look at who your target audience is, and that isn't just saying, that my target audience is me. Even if your target audience is you really got to do a lot more kind of digging into who that person is, even if that is you. So coming up with things like profiles where you basically say, okay, my ideal customer is Jane. Jane of all names, what a random name to come to my head. My ideal customer is Jane. She's 28, she's professional. She went to university, she loves socializing, she loves experiences, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't like fast fashion, she likes giving to charity, she's always gonna look out for sustainable brands. That's the kind of stuff that you need to really dig deep to, because once you've figured out who your ideal target customer is, there might be a few different segments. That's how you can frame all your marketing. So when it comes to you doing things like Facebook marketing, when you've got to target who you're speaking to, that's when those profiles come into mind, and you can say, do you know what, Jane is this is how old Jane is, and this is what Jane is interested in, so this is how I'm going to target people on my Instagram strategy. So I know I just went, if you're not familiar with marketing, that would have just sounded like a different language to you, and I apologize if that's the case. But as mentioned, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth video on it, and also I'm going to be providing resources which will help take you through everything you need to do in the realm of marketing and starting your business step by step. So that's it. I hope that was helpful. Super whistle stop tour. I just used that phrase again, even though I know that I can't say it. It was a very quick tour of all of the key steps that you need to do in order for you to launch your online store in 2021. 2021 is going to be a huge year for all of us, speaking into existence. As I said before, starting an online store is not as hard as you think it's going to be. Anyone can do it. You've just got to be committed to your idea and to making it work. So thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in these kind of topics, then please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you.